Salamis, President and CEO of Integra Resources, a New York Stock Exchange listed and TSXV listed gold producer in the Western U.S.
George, good to see you. And I think we're going to be talking about today is obviously the feasibilities come out. Maybe hit us with the numbers, and there's a few things I want to talk to you about.
Sure. Yeah. So the headline number, is NPV5 of $601 million, 8-year mine life, lower costs over time, higher production profile over time. The real story here, though, however, is the cash flow that this generates over the entire 8 years, close to $800 million of after-tax free cash flow, which should be welcome news to our shareholders, because that's the kind of Florida Canyon becomes the cash flow engine which funds everything else. And this entire model for cash flow and gold production at Florida Canyon is self-sustaining, meaning we don't have to go out and raise a big whack of money to do it. The mine's there, it's built, it's permitted, it runs. And all of this is being fueled, obviously, by a large jump in resources and reserves, 78% jump in reserves and 128% jump in resources. So a really good outcome.
Yeah, really good outcome. But I just want to understand where it's come from in a way, because you've been mining over the past 2 years, but you've increased the number of ounces. Is this because of a better understanding of the geology? Is it more refined engineering than before, or is it simply down to the economics of gold price?
It is exactly that. I mean, we've learned a lot from this ore body over the course of mining it for the last 2 years. What to do, what not to do, where the efficiencies are, where we could do better on the efficiencies. It's largely speaking, open pit heap leaching is all about sort of the efficient movement of dirt around a mine site. And we've certainly learned that. We've learned a lot about the metallurgy, the geotechnical qualities of the deposit, i.e. our ability to get sort of steeper on pit slope angles, get a bit more aggressive, where the better grades are, how to recover some of this gold in the open pits with marginally higher recoveries. When we crush it, we've learned a lot from it in the last 2 years, and that's what you see in this study.
Right, but in terms of the kind of this structural reinterpretation that you're talking about, and new drilling, etc. What are the changes geologically that you think has allowed you to kind of unlock additional reserve to this? Yeah,
so I guess it all kind of revolves around the foundation of the deposit. We hear this sentence issued often by mining companies, which is resource and reserves are the foundation that the house is built on, right? And you need to have confidence in that foundation. We had some level of confidence, but we were seeing a lot of variability in what we were mining over the last 18 months. So that pushed us into a position where let's do a lot of exploration. Let's understand the ore body a lot better. Previously, the ore body for the last 25 years has been mined basically on grade shells. And there's more to the story than just simply grade distribution. There's the controls that go with that grade distribution. There are the structural controls. There are the lithological controls, how those two interact. And so we've spent the last 18 months studying that. We have a much more robust, much more refined model, and I believe a much more dependable model to now march ahead into the next 8 years and produce a lot of gold on.
Obviously today's reserve number is not the end of the story. There's more reserve conversion to happen. Everyday folk like me are looking at the increase in the number of ounces, and I guess I'm having a pleasure basically going up to site and meeting you and your team up there. What operationally is going to change to allow that kind of increase? So well and good the numbers on a page, but where's it going to come from operationally?
Well, it all starts with sort of still playing catch up for the next 2 quarters on what was left behind by the previous owner, right? You saw it there. We're doing a lot of waste stripping right now. In fact, the majority of our mining and rock movement, if you will, or haulage within the context of Florida Canyon is waste rock right now, and we're purposely mining through that waste rock at a very fast clip to get to the better grades of the main C pits, which you saw when we were out there. The sort of the main zone, much better grades, much better metallurgy, much better mining conditions there. And so we're spending all this money over the process of this next 2 quarters to get there, to set ourselves up for the next 8 years of mining, which is again, higher grades, lower strip, lower cost, all of those great things which you see in the study.
Okay, so production-wise, so better scheduling and reduced operational risk coming through, and you'll see the impact of that. The cash is obviously the big standout here. People realize that that's potentially a lot of free cash flow for you guys. The question is always going to be, well, what do you do with that?
Well, so first off, I mean, we have to sustain this operation, right? And so again, I mentioned the aspect of putting out a study that has no upfront capital to it, because the mine sustains itself. So we will continue to spend money on this operation. We've got some more equipment to buy this year, and in another 2 years from now, we'll be buying some even more equipment to entirely replace that 777 fleet that we inherited from the previous owners. There's some tweaking to do to the crushing circuit. So there's some money to be spent on Florida Canyon, but it does sustain itself. And even beyond sustaining itself, it generates a lot of free cash flow to then apply to assets like Delamar, for example, which 2 years from now we hope to be in sort of a construction mode, and we have to pay for that construction. We hope to have a significant amount of cash built up from Florida Canyon in our treasury to get Delamar built. Obviously, there'll be a component of debt that will come in with that. But, again, we're still talking about this self-sustaining, self-funding mechanism, which is the original reason why we bought Florida Canyon in the first place.
Right, so self-sustaining, good, growth, better. And people need to sort of understand, is Delamar the answer to that growth question, or does the kind of potential free cash flow give you optionality elsewhere?
Well, in terms of the optionality elsewhere, yes, it pays the bills on everything that we have in terms of our growth pipeline. I mean, we haven't talked about Nevada North, which is the project that sits 25 miles to the west of Florida Canyon itself, which would make a great add-on at some stage to Florida Canyon. I do believe that those two assets will actually be in production in parallel at some stage, right? But the cash flow that's generated from Florida Canyon will pay for all of that sort of work to get Nevada North to the finish line. And again, once Delamar and Florida Canyon are running in parallel, that will then clearly pay for Nevada North ultimately in the development plan.
Right. So you get the assumption here being with the cash being produced that it's going to be clearly less dilutive for shareholders over the next few years as you develop existing portfolio. Okay, fine. And how are you going in terms of driving these efficiency? Obviously, people assume inflation's gone away and costs are going down. What's the reality on the ground? Because obviously, ultimately, it's about margin. Gold prices, come off a bit. How's that affecting you?
It's affecting us right now, like every other gold producer out there, right? So fuel prices are high, explosive prices are high, and that's being reflected in our all-in sustaining costs right now. That's a small part of it. It's not the part of it. It's a fact of life. We have to just deal with it, right? As every other producer does, but you see our costs coming meaningfully down once we get through the next 2 quarters of this massive stripping campaign. Our costs then sort of migrate down over the course of the next 8 years to an average of about $2,300, just over $2,300 an ounce AISC. This is never going to be a sub $2,000 an ounce AISC producer. It's just not one of those. It doesn't have the grade profile to support that. But if we assume that the gold prices remain high for an extended period of time, there'll be lots of margin, again, to build up our treasury and our cash flow to pay for the other things going forward.
Right, okay. So I think the interesting thing is that the kind of fleet replacement, fleet optimization, etc., is not going to be, well, you've got to get it done and over the line. Any other aspects of the business as part of this feasibility study where you think, well, actually I was surprised that we're able to kind of save money on these components, or where you saw efficiencies where you didn't expect to?
Yeah, so some of the efficiencies that we saw actually, so the gold resource and reserve sort of growth that we put out in the study, the 78% reserve, let's focus on that one, for example. Obviously some of that's driven by the gold price. Running a higher gold price on the resource and reserve model does a lot of things to add resources and reserves. I mean, that's kind of geology and mining 101. A large measure came from the drilling that we did, right? We started drilling the asset as soon as we acquired it just over 18 months ago. Hit the ground running, 16,000 meters in the first year, all entirely focused within the mine gate, growing the resource and reserve base. That ended up adding a lot of resource and reserve in of itself. Another big piece was looking at the geotechnical aspects of the ore body. In other words, can we afford to get a little bit more aggressive on things like pit slopes on the pit shells that we plan to mine? 2 or 3 degrees, as proven in this study, makes a big difference on future waste. In other words, the steeper the pit shell angle, the less waste you have to move at your own cost. That doesn't generate revenue. So that had a big effect in the model. Resequencing the sequence by which we will mine these ore bodies over the course of time, that had a big effect in of itself. And then the recognition, the third piece, really key, especially in the context of higher gold prices right now, is what can we afford to do to push more tons through the crusher as opposed to the run of mine ore, because the crusher actually recovers gold in a far better manner, right? We're talking about, low to mid 60s of recovery versus high 40s, low 50s from a ROM perspective. Why not go to push more tons through that crusher because it can handle it and recover more gold? So the study looks at that. We still have more work to do on that, by the way. We're looking at, what future options could be out there in terms of actually crushing even more than the crusher capacity now, what that would look like. We continue to study that, but why not recover more gold by pushing more tons through the crusher right now? Study shows that that's worth it.
Well, the study, I think, it seems to indicate life of mine recovery about 57% at the moment. So you look to kind of eke out a bit more there. And the crushing, I hear you loud and clear. But I think people need to, and it's only kind of hit me when I saw the sort of scale of the operation you've got there. And not just your project, but that whole kind of Great Basin projects where it's an engineering feat, and that all these percentage points really, really have such a big impact on the bottom line. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
And one of the things to that 57%, that's a blended average recovery, right, between crushed ore and run of mine ore. So again, getting back to, yes, it's worthwhile crushing a lot more of this ore as opposed to just directly placing it from the pit on the heap leach, because with the crusher we obtain a much better average recovery, sort of low to mid 60s. Again, not 57. 57 is the blended recovery between ROM and crushed ore. Longer term, it's just going to make more sense to crush more ore, really capture a lot more gold at that.
Okay, well, worth clarifying. Exploration, you talked a little bit about it, but it's just in terms of, how many, is it 42,000 meter program that you've indicated? In terms of the kind of commercial objectives, what exactly are you trying to do? Clearly, more answers pays the bills, but is it over demonstrating a longer life? Is it targeting higher grades? And what's the objective?
So I'm going to use a typical geologist answer. It's all of the above, right, Matthew? Which is, for the most, so breaking down the 42,500 meters that we have to do, most of that's going to be within the mine gate, what we call within the mining property itself, in proximity to the pits that we're mining, and we will mine for the next 8 years. You would have seen, when you saw yourself with your own eyes when you're up there, these large ridges and saddles between open pits, right? That material, we haven't finished drilling those high walls between pits. Some of them have actually started, these pits have started to get larger in the context of this study. More work to be done. I truly believe that this is one massive ore body that's been mined, in bits and pieces and satellites, what I call the ice cream scoop of mining methodology. In between these ice cream scoops in the ground are these ridges and saddles that I do believe contain ore. Those need drilling. So a lot of the drilling will go to areas like that. A lot of the drilling will go to extensions of the current ore body in an effort to make everything within the mine gate or within the mine plan of operations grow. So that's another aspect of growth. And then there's the outside of the mine gate piece, which, if you recall, we were out at the Standard Mine, right? We drove south of the asset. That's a historical resource in of itself, and we'll start drilling that. By the way, that's a project that hasn't seen a drill hole for, I think it's 15 years. So we're getting into those areas where we can add resource growth that's, not too far away from the existing mining operation. Maybe we can share some infrastructure there, who knows? But for the first time, we're drilling outside of the mine gate. We're pretty excited by that. That drilling, by the way, starts in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I remember that. It was quite imposing in terms of the scale of the opportunity there. So that's a big opportunity. People looking at the asset that you bought, was it a couple of years or so ago, versus the business that you built today, do you think people are starting to value it differently, or at least question the way that they may be valuing single asset company into, you talk about Standard, you talk about Delmar, and there's opportunities outside the mine gate, as you say. Do you think the market's starting to understand what you're trying to do and the steps that you're taking to deliver a much bigger multi-asset company?
Yeah, I mean, just to start off with, so yes, we paid what was it, $66 million for Delamar. This study shows that we're going to make an 11x return on that initial investment. So a great return. That said, I still do understand that within the minds of the investing public, there's a show me aspect to Florida Canyon, right? It's an asset that's been unloved for so long, undercapitalized for so long. So show us that you can actually do that. Show us that you can actually deliver the production profiles in the 80 to 85,000 ounce range. Show us that you can drop the costs, and we still have to demonstrate that, obviously. And that's 2027 for us. 2027, 2028, and 2029 is when we demonstrate that aspect of, yes, we can drop costs. Yes, we can raise production. Yes, we can run this operation far more efficiently than anybody else has. And we're fully aware that we have to show our shareholders that.
Show me, don't tell me. Always a good one to go by if you're an investor. George, I appreciate you catching up on that one. Nice to see the feasibility, certainly with the numbers, it's maybe getting the attention it deserves. We'll see you soon.
See you soon, Matt.